You mentioned the increased focus on the public sector unions rather than the private sector unions. Why is that seen as sort of fertile ground for unionization?
Well, nationally, the public employers have been easier to organize. The public employees, for whatever set of reasons, have been more susceptible to the union message, and management, so to speak, the government that is, has been less effective or less cared less about arguing against a union coming into a facility or into a department. So that combination of things, as well as political money. So when political money comes from the labor unions to the politicians, and the politicians hire the agency heads and agency chiefs, that's a whole different scenario than private business. So just a number of factors have made it easier for unions to organize public employees, except where there's a statute like we have that prevents that collective bargaining in that issue.
You mentioned the statute, but are there other things that people who have concerns about labor unions ought to keep in mind as they think about ways to get the other side of the story out?
Yeah, two things really. On the private sector side, the unions have, I think, failed so miserably in the South and in this state in particular because they failed to deliver on their promises. So when they go to a group of employees and argue, vote for me and this will happen, those things don't typically happen. So they failed in their message, over promise and under delivered. On the public side, we don't have a history of that here in the state, but the reason that it's such a bad idea, and even Franklin Roosevelt was against public employee unions for this reason, that the owner of capital, the entity that should be at the table bargaining with the owner of labor, is actually sitting at home in a bucket lounger watching television. Really who the union is negotiating with is an agency chief that the union perhaps financed through political contributions. So that's not real bargaining. That's a money circle or something such as that, but it's not real bargaining.